Welcome to the Ruden Report podcast. I'm Dave Ruden, and Ruden Report podcast is again a football podcast. We're coming off week 3 of games, week 2 of Alliance football games, and we have a lot to talk about. We're going to have a real special guest coming up a little bit later. Erick Perino, the Greenwich kicker who made the 42-yard field goal on the last play of the game on his first career field goal attempt to give Greenwich a 30-28 win over Maloney. He's going to join us, but for now, I'm going to bounce around the league with my partner, Sean Ireland. Sean, how you doing?
Doing great. Crazy weekend, Dave.
Yeah, it never ends. It never ends. So there's a lot to talk about. Why don't we start with the Greenwich game? It lived up to the hype. Number 1 against number 3. It was two teams with a lot of talent and with a lot of heart, and came down to a kick at the end.
Yeah, it's great. And Dave, just like for the people who are not in favor of the Alliance games, look at the games that were produced this weekend. Like the Alliance is what needs to be done. But 1 versus 3, Greenwich versus Maloney. Maloney had the game. They had the game. 0.4 seconds, whatever it was, to be able to get that kickoff. That's the press of a button. If the scorekeeper was a half a second faster, we're not even talking about it. But two great teams. Literally, when you say they left it on the field, both teams left it on the field. And fortunately for Greenwich, they had Eric to boom that ball right through the uprights.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that till just now, but really, you talk about like hometown on the clock. I mean, if that happened in Norwalk, you'd be all over whoever's running the clock.
Yeah, George Kasparis, he would be buying me lunch for a year if he did that.
I mean, it's not too often you get 0.5 seconds on the road to have that opportunity. We'll talk to Eric, and that I mean, first of all, it's just incredible to your first career kick. You haven't even tried one yet, and you're asked to make a 42-yarder. It's just that kick was right down the middle, dead solid, perfect.
Yeah, that was a no doubter. Like you saw the video. I saw 2 angles, both of them. As soon as it left at foot, you're like, oh, that's in.
Yeah. For the first second, it's just, will it be far enough? And then 2 seconds, and he more than enough distance. Yeah. Hey, also, and we'll talk with Eric. Credit to the Greenwich offense. They took over on their own 26-yard line. Credit to Rocco Grillo, the quarterback, running the 2-minute drill and getting the team, I think it was 51 yards downfield in a short period of time to put themselves in a position to win. Everybody's is giving Eric the credit, and rightfully so. But that was a collaborative effort by the offense to put him in a position to win the game.
Yeah, absolutely. He can't make that kick if they don't get the 35, whatever, how many yards it was. That unbelievable. And I know you practice that. You practice that situation. You practice the 2-minute drill frequently. But it's different when the lights are on and you're not going against your scout team. You're going against the number 3 team. And you know what? Greenwich did a heck of a job, putting it all together and putting themselves in that position to win.
When you're practicing it, is the practice exactly as it would be in a game? Okay, hurry, just keep doing, if the ball goes out of bounds, you have a little bit of time. But if the play's inbounds, you just run it in practice just like you would in a game?
Yeah. I mean, the way how we did it, we would always do it. The first time we would do it, we would put the ball on our own 10-yard line, and we would do it on air, just so they get used to running up. And one of our coaches would act like the ref, spot the ball. We blow the whistle, even if the guy was just not out of bounds, so they get used to, I was out of bounds. No, stop complaining, give him the ball, get set, and go. And then the second time we would put the scout team D on there. Hopefully it's just mental reps, that the kids are just used to, this is what we need to do. And I'm sure before the kickoff, just after the kickoff return, the coach let them know, all right, guys, this is our goal. We need to get to this yard line, get out of bounds, all that good stuff. And, they ran it to perfection. 0.4 seconds.
That's why they're number one team in the state.
Absolutely.
They just did a great job, and just a game that lived up. You get 1 versus 3, and it's lately it seems like we've been getting 1, 2, or top 5 teams playing each other a little bit more often, and that's because of the alliance. We're able to do that, but it's when you get that kind of game, and it's an even game. You asked me beforehand, what do I do with Maloney when in the state voting? I kept Maloney at number 3. How do you maybe consider dropping them 1 or 2 spots only because of another good team that won? But I had him 3 the week before, and I kept them there. They didn't do anything that deserved to.
Yeah,
to
Southington
drop.
was too, right?
I had Southington too in my poll,
right. You could make the argument to bump them up to 2.
I thought about it.
If that field goal, if that scorekeeper, hesitates 0.4 seconds, Maloney's number 1.
Yeah.
So, oh man, it's just a great Connecticut high school football game.
I bumped West Haven up to number 2 just because, like I said, they're unbeaten, and they've beaten good teams and 2 FCI teams. But again, I'm not one to, well, you lost, so you're going down 5 or 6 spots. Your 2-1 is better than most teams, if not every team's 3-0.
Yeah.
And again, it came against the number 1 team in the state. It didn't, quality. If there's such a thing as a quality loss, that's it.
That's it right there.
All right, let's bounce around the league. Why don't we go? We're talking 8-8 for the FSAC and the Alliance again. So
it was a good 8-8.
Yeah, this was a better 8-8 than week 1.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of stories in the middle of the pack, but why don't we? The upper tier teams did much better, and I happen to be at 2 of the games, so I'm able to talk a little bit more about it. So why don't we bounce, just because I voted 3 FSAC teams in the top 10. And I was at New Canaan yesterday for a really, really impressive 33-12 win over Windsor. And I called it an innovative throwback. Not too many times you see New Canaan go 3-to-1 ratio running to passing. And they had a really good game plan, and they had more trickery than I can remember. They had an onside kick. They kind of did a funky formation where you move everybody to the side on a punt, and you move everybody to the side on the punt, and everybody just figures you're gonna move everybody to the middle and punt the ball, and then you end up Windsor jumped offside, so they kept the drive going. They had a play on a kickoff where like 3 or 4 guys bunched up, and you didn't know who had the ball, and it went for a 70-yard kickoff return. So it was a good game plan, but it's New Canaan football. Run the ball and win with defense.
Was that weather related, Dave, or have you watched them earlier, or is this what they're doing this year?
It's both. It's weather related, and it's also the strength of the team is running the ball. And for a second year, they have game manager quarterbacks. They're not, there's not the guy who's, we know who's going to be at TCU or playing last night at Arizona State. It's guys who are game managers. And they have 2 quarterbacks. They had Luke Robinson, who's sort of the passing quarterback, and then they had Alex Russi. And Alex Russi actually was the quarterback running the ball. He had 46 yards rushing. I'm just looking real quickly at my notes here, but they had five guys who carried the ball 5 times or more, and they had 44 carries for 179 yards. So it was a grind, 4 yards and a speckle of water. Yeah. And Rusty was number 2 at 46 yards. So it was by design, and I also think though that's the strength of the team this year. They have a good offensive line. They have a variety of runners. They have in Alex Benevento. They have a guy who's a playmaker, get the ball in space, and that's the way New Canaan's been. Did you play them last year when you came back?
Yes, we played them last year.
Were they? I mean, did you find them to be a different New Canaan team than what you're used to? I mean, I know you didn't have the personnel you normally have.
Yeah, they seem they're like to be they weren't the same New Canaan team. I'm not talking about talent wise. I'm talking about game planning wise.
Yeah.
They were. I mean, they're always big, but like their skill position guys even seemed bigger last year. They didn't have that Drew Prime, the guys you just mentioned. They didn't have that guy that can go and throw a ball 35 yards on the line, but they were game managers, like you said. They were very smart. Always made the right plays and things like that, right reads. So, yeah. Now you say, yeah, they're still damn good though.
Yeah, number one, their defense has been great. Chris Silvestri's been,
Chris is
as
the
good
best.
as good as any coordinator in the FCIAC and the state. Just what he's done with his defensive game plans, and it was a swarming defense last year, and it's the same kind of defense, and they were able, except for a few plays, to neutralize Windsor's speed. And Windsor's got a lot. Windsor's a good team. Windsor's going to win a lot of games. This wasn't against the down Windsor team. New Canaan and New Canaan possessed the ball, and if you're holding the ball, Windsor can't use that speed.
Yeah, there's nothing more demoralizing than that. Like you said, 4 yards, 4 yards. Okay, 3rd and 2. Oh, they got the first. 4 yards, 5 yards. All right, 3rd and 1. Let's get off the field. Nope, they get the first. And after a while, like it's just you get worn down. The defense like just literally physically gets worn down, and it's just like, oh man, come on. They got to make a mistake at some point, but they never do.
I teased Lou after the game. I said, the old Lou Marinelli 5-6 years ago when you had all these passers, and Wednesday you see the forecast is for a tropical storm. You're calling to see if you're going to postpone the game because you don't want to put your timing ruin your timing patterns and your aerial downfield game on you're playing in the wet weather. Now it's kind of like, great, our game plan's going to work perfectly with the rain. It's not necessarily to our disadvantage.
Yeah, yeah. We played them. I want to say it was 2016 at our place. We were good that year. We were very good. Very windy night, and so they came out in their normal spread offense, and I think they went 3 and out. The next series, 2 tight ends, T backfield, and here we go. I'm like, oh, come on. But yeah, it's always fun to play against them.
I think it was the year, was it the year after the pandemic with Pat when it was like a 17? You've got Norwalk played on a Sunday. I think it was a Sunday afternoon game with New Canaan, and I think it was like a 17-14 game. It was like Cam's senior year.
Yeah, no, this was before that.
Okay, it was the year before the pandemic.
Yeah, it was definitely 2016.
No, this the most recent game.
Yeah,
Cam's senior year was that the year after the pandemic?
Yes, yeah, they had them. That was a real tight game.
I think it was like 17-14, and yep. It was played on a Sunday because of, I don't know if it was weather conditions or
no. It was Norwalk's head coach and like 4 of their starters ended up testing positive.
Okay,
so yeah, it was crazy. So when we found out that the game was Sunday, because originally we thought, hey, this game should have been played the week before Thanksgiving. That was the whole thing. And then when we found out it was Sunday, everybody was kind of scratching their heads, like, why is that? Like, if any other team didn't have their head coach, it would be postponed. Nope, no, we're playing. But yeah, that was a real tight game. I remember that one. It was a Sunday. You are right.
Yeah, I remember that only because I had the Giant game on my phone. And during stoppages of plays, I would look at. but New Canaan, I think I voted. I think so, I did this my state poll voting. I put them 7 after seeing them, and I feel ever since that first half against Shelton, they look like the New Canaan football team that we're familiar with.
Yeah.
The other game I was at was his Friday night, and that was at Darien Fairfield Prep, and it was the game was 0-0 at halftime, and early in the third quarter, a bad snap by Darien, and they're down 2-0, and then they come right back on the next play and intercept a ball and return it for a touchdown, and they grind out a long drive and get a field goal in the fourth quarter, an 8-minute drive, and get a field goal with 1:10 left, and hold on for a 10-2 win in a game. I think most people just figured it's Fairfield Prep, and Fairfield Prep's 0-2, and Darien looked good but not great against Brian McMahon, and I think people thought Prep was going to win the game by maybe a couple touchdowns.
Yeah. Like Darien, their defense is obviously legit. If you're shutting out, and we said it before, like even I think Brian McMahon's offense is very good. Holding them to 14 points with their speed is good. But I mean, theoretically shutting out Fairfield Prep. So if you're Darien offense, you put up 2-3, you put up 3 scores, you're going to walk away with a lot of wins this year with that defense they got going over there.
Yeah, I mean, they were strong defensively last year. Again, everybody talks about the 6-4 team like it was a disaster when it wasn't.
Yeah.
But their defense was a strength last year, and right now it's been everybody kind of has talked about the offense for a variety of reasons, but their defense has played really well. They excuse me, had a good pass rush, and that kid Charlie Tom, which we were talking about as a tight end, and he had a couple of nice catches and yards after the catch, but he was in the backfield a lot. And they have a really, really good secondary with Ryan Girolamo and my favorite name in the FCAC, Briggs McGuckin. Briggs McGuckin sounds like he should be my financial advisor. I like,
Yeah.
I love that name. But the two of them combined for 3 interceptions in the secondary, and their defense has been great.
Yeah. I mean, whenever you have a good defense, obviously that's a plus. But at some point, you're going to be. I mean, they were in that game this week, so who am I to say anything? But you got to put points on the board.
My read after 2 weeks is their defense can get them into the state playoffs. Right now, their offense can't.
Right.
I think the offense has the potential to get there. I'm not saying I think it's nobody's won the starting quarterback. They started Ben Rolap and moved the ball some, had some turnovers, and then they went to Declan Cunningham, and he can run the ball well. The issue right now is their wide receivers are game breakers. If they have 4 to 5, 3 really, really high profile receivers, and then 1 or 2 that are good possession receivers, and they haven't been able to make them impact players yet. And the question to me is how the quarterback position plays out, how it relates to being able to get those guys the ball.
Yeah, they're going to have to figure out a way. They're going to have to, or they're not going to go as far as they want to this year. Like you said, they got the weapons out there. They just got to get it to their weapons one way or another. They got to figure out a way to get them the ball.
They play your old team this weekend. They have Norwalk. It's going to be Mike Forget. That storyline's going to kind of probably get lost in the shuffle, which people in Norwalk and Darien are probably happy about.
Yeah.
But Mike Forget taking on his old team. This is a week where Darien should should win the game comfortably. Norwalk's just undermanned this year. There's a rebuilding year, but this is the kind of game where you try to. Would you look at it from as a coach from Darien's standpoint? This is like a game where you try to get that aerial attack going, and in a situation where you can do a lot of good things and get the confidence, and then they have the bye week, and then hopefully it carries over.
Yeah, they when you're playing a team that, I mean, on paper you should win. It would be interesting, Dave. Let's just say it's the end of the first quarter and Norwalk's pitching a shutout. Like, what's going to start happening? You know what I mean? Like, are they going to start getting tense, or are they just going to say, you know what, hey, let's just do what we do best, and let's move forward. But yeah, they gotta put points on the board. Now they've only played 2 games, but I mean they're averaging 15 points a game, I think, something like that, right?
Yeah, they scored 21. So they have 31. So
Right.
and a half.
Yeah.
And you point out a good thing too. They've only played 2 games. The good thing is they got a win over a good North Haven team that would have been difficult to beat on the field. The bad is that's one fewer game these quarterbacks have had a chance to play in terms of trying to establish themselves.
Right, but the thing with football that you only play 10 games, like they should have enough under their belts now where that's got to be, there. I mean, we're already 30% into the season. Football's like no other. You play 1 game a week. So at some point they got to, and they will. It's Darien. They will pick it up and they will be just fine.
Well, they got it coming off the bye. They play Greenwich, so
okay. Yeah.
Like I said, I didn't vote Darien in the top 15. I don't think right now they're a top 15 team. I think they can be a top 15 by the end of the season. So
yeah,
we'll see what's going on. I know there's a one team we both want to talk about, but probably the other most impressive win of the weekend, and actually not one, probably right up there, just about with Greenwich's Staples going up to Southington and coming away with a 34-27 win. That probably was tied for the second most impressive win of the week, along with New Canaan's.
Yeah, we played up at Southington a long, long time ago, and talk about not fun places to play at. One, it feels like you're on a bus forever. Like, it's just, in the middle of nowhere. And then on top of that, they're a damn good football team. So the fact that Staples went up there, the Smith to Smith connection, I'll take those 2 kids any day.
I just forgot isn't that those old cough drops used to have? Were they Smith and Smith, or they I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I don't know. I have to look that. I don't know where that just came from, but Smith, there were. I think those. I'm gonna have to check that. But yeah, Smith and Smith's a nice firm right now.
Yeah, they are. They're good. I mean, the whole team's good, but man, they had that quarterback coming back and being able to throw to his brother, and that's an impressive win going up to Southington on a Friday night and coming home with a victory.
It was a team win, but what a difference it makes when you have your starting quarterback coming back, no matter what, when he happens to be as good as Caleb Smith. It's even a bigger bonus. But in this day and age, when you get your starting quarterback and you have him for 2 years, it makes such a difference.
Huge difference. Yeah.
We'll get one more game.
If you don't like, I think does that reaffirm Staples back in the top 10?
Staples, Staples is in my top 10.
Yeah.
I think I had them. I think 9 or 10.
Yeah,
they're definitely they have that's as quality a win as you're gonna get. They're a top 10 team right now in my eyes.
Yeah.
And, maybe high. We'll see. Maybe higher, but they're like I said, their defense made some big plays too. Even though Southington put up 27. another. I keep. I'll punt one more time on this team, but the team I don't know how good they are, and this wasn't a terrible loss. Only that it was similar to their first loss is Trumbull losing to Newtown 21-14. Newtown's a top 10 team. So you don't want to, it's not like, oh wow, Trumbull lost to Newtown, they're in trouble. It's
Right.
just kind of frustrating that they also had that opening 1-point loss to Hamden. It would have
Right.
been nice to get a split in their alliance game. So I'm not sure where I'm not sure where Trumbull is right now.
Yeah, it's one of those things like you hate to say, well, if this happened, if this happened, if this happened, but they are 2 plays away from being undefeated right now.
Yeah.
Like not 2 plays a game, 2 plays for the season. It's tough when Newtown is Newtown. They're obviously very good. When you jump out to a 14-0 halftime lead, and you can't punch another one in the second half, that's very, very frustrating. Um, but it's just tough, because again, you only play 10 games, and to make the playoffs is so tough. It goes back to like, man, if we could have just done this or just done that, we'd be right where we want to. But again, Trumbull will be there in the end.
Yeah, you know what? If Trumbull wins one of those and they're 2-1 right now, we're talking about them a little differently than
Yep.
1-2. So they have a difficult schedule coming up. So not a lot of it would have been nice to have that little extra margin, comfort margin going into the rest of the FCX schedule and just having that
Yeah.
one loss than they do. But like I said, neither loss is as a standalone is a bad loss.
Right.
It would have been nice to get the split. The team that I know you and I want to talk about, and we still don't know a lot about. They're like the mystery good team is Fairfield Ludlow. We
Oh,
talk about Hamden, with the 1-point win over Trumbull, and I see Hamden Ludlow, and I'm thinking, okay, well, that's like a 3-touchdown game. And it is a 3-touchdown game, only it was
yeah.
Ludlow with the 35-14 win. And
Convincing.
Ludlow,
Convincing win.
what team did we least likely think would be 3-0? And who had Ludlow New Canaan on their circled on their calendars a month ago as the big game of the week in week 4?
Yeah. And it is a big one. It is a
All
big one.
eyes turn to the land of the nest. And
Yeah, yeah. That place is going to be hopping. There's going to be a big crowd there. Ludlow always, when they have successful teams, that's their student section will be there. Unfortunately, it's one of the worst places to watch a game if you're a visiting fan, and New Canaan, they're going to bring people with them. So, but it's going to be a fun night up there in Fairfield. Because I know Mitch, Mr. Vegas, that's him, Mr. Vegas. He's going to have tricks up his sleeve. It's always frustrating to play against Mitch because it could be 4th and 2 from his own 25, and he's going for it. And you're like, oh, come on, Mitch, just punt the ball, will you? Come on. But Mitch is unbelievable. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
He's done a great job. He's not a stranger to game planning for New Canaan because he did it a lot of years as the offensive coordinator at Darien. But he's changed the culture there. He won one game his first year where he had there were like 30-40 players on the team, and now they got 100 kids coming out, and they're a 500 to 7-win team since he's been there in a town that has not only another team, but a private school that tries to poach away all the good players when possible.
Right.
So Mitch has just done a tremendous job there, and I don't know what the ceiling is there. Just it's kind of tough to at a school like that to get to the state playoffs, but
yeah,
you know what? If if they beat New Canaan this week, and
They're in the driver's seat.
you know what? We don't know anything about Ludlow because we haven't been paying attention to them.
Yeah.
That's on us. The only thing I can tell you about Ludlow is Jackson Frame had 3 interceptions and a touchdown catch. And the only reason I know that is I had 5 messages on my Instagram yesterday from Ludlow people and from the Ludlow Nest account telling me that he had to be a nominee for Player of the Week.
Well, I hope you put him up. Did you?
He's
Right,
I got we're doing the team of the week after I get off this, and then
Jackson. I nominated
Jackson
Jackson.
Frame. If this should post before the vote, you are a finalist for player of
You got
the
my
week.
vote, Jackson.
So I don't even know what to. I wish I could talk about them a little bit more. I just don't know. I just remember going to, as I made my camp trips, and I looked at them, and nothing stood out about them either way.
Mhm.
Mitch is a coach that is honest. Mitch isn't going to tell you we suck if he has an 8-win team. Right. So he's honest, and my guess is, knowing Mitch and based on what Mitch has said, is that he thought there was potential there, but he didn't really know. And obviously, right so far, when you're 3-0, you take notice. When you're 3-0 and you beat Hamden by 3 touchdowns, now all of a sudden there's a lot of interest Friday night.
Yeah. And Mitch, Mitch is as creative as they come. New Canaan is going to see a formation they have not seen yet. They're going to see plays they have not seen yet, and
Mitch against Sly and Lou. It's going to be it's going to be a real chess match with that defense against that offense. So I'm looking for, it's fun for us when different teams do well. I mean, we love covering Greenwich, New Canaan, all those teams, but it's fun that I'm going to be at Ludlow Friday and at Stanford Saturday.
Yeah, that's a fact, Jack. I mean, like I told you, it's always great when the New Canaans, Greenwiches, Darien, St. Joe's, Staples. It's always great, but man, there's nothing like it when that one team that is flying under the radar and they just start opening people's eyes. I just think it's great for the league.
I mean, we've been, look who we've been talking about this year. We've been talking about Ludlow. We've been talking about Danbury. We've been talking about McMahon. We've been talking about Stanford. And the team we haven't really talked about yet, and their fans are kind of giving me a hard time for not giving them any love, is Wilton right now is also at 3-0. I'm not surprised they're at 3-0 right now because A, they're good, and B, their schedule is backloaded. The hardest part of their schedule is the second half of the season. So for you Wilton fans that say, I'm not paying attention to you, I am. You're just going to see a lot more of me in October and November than you have in September.
Yeah, and you know what? They play the schedule that's given to them. They don't pick it. Who cares about fair, all that good stuff. But
they're winning it. You know what? They're winning, and they're winning the way they should be. They're not. Right. They're winning, and they're winning emphatically. So that's not enough. Yeah. And you look at anything I've said or written, I thought they're going to be. I've said they're the best team no one's talking about because they have a lot of good returning talent. We just need to see how they're going to do against, the really top teams, and they just haven't played any of them yet. So
I saw them in person. Their quarterback is legit. That lineman, he could be. Yeah, him and the kid from Greenwich, I think, are the 2 best linemen in the league, in my opinion. They have a good wide receivers. The other linemen are big too. Wilton, like you said, their schedule has been favorable, but they're doing what they're supposed to do with that favorable schedule. So
yeah, exactly. They're every team has stretches that are in their favor. Wilton's just happens to be at the beginning of the year, but Wilton, we see you, we love you, and we're gonna be paying even more attention to you real soon.
Yep.
So real quick, Stanford Stanford with another win. St. Joe's just kind of quietly under the radar with a 13-0 win over Notre Dame of West Haven. We haven't talked about them. It's funny, their schedule. I think the last 2 years, the way their schedule was, I covered them like the first 3 weeks of the season, and their schedule, just the way it's worked. I haven't seen them yet, but I'll be at Stanford for Stanford St. Joseph on Saturday, and that's an intriguing game too.
That's a very intriguing
Stanford
game.
almost beat them last year. That was Stanford. That was Stanford's, almost as good as Stanford's wins. They took them right to the end last year.
Yeah, and it's going to be another game like that too. And then the funny thing with St. Joe's is, man, you talk even the years there. In my opinion, they always somehow, I don't want to say fly under the radar, but like when you talk about the teams in the FCI, who do people say all the time? Greenwich, New Canaan. St. Joe's should be at the top of that. In my, like they're, I don't know. Joe does a tremendous job. Their starting quarterback gets hurt, and look what they're doing now. Yeah. They graduated a bunch of that. I think his best coaching job ever was last year.
I agree 100%.
Yeah. 100%. So he loses pretty much half of his starting team, and he still does what he does.
Yeah, to get that team into the state tournament was playoffs was more impressive than some of the state championships.
Right.
I don't discount them at all. Joe's right up there with the top coaches.
Yeah,
in the state. And
absolutely.
Before we take a break, it was too bad to see McMahon. Tough spot on the road, lose at Manchester 41-27, and Danbury with a 52-32 loss to East Hartford. I talked to Augie real briefly yesterday about something else, and he just said, a couple of things happened to short circuit their offense, but their defense he said East Hartford's good quarterback, and their defense, their offense, he said, played good enough to win, and the defense just didn't.
Yeah, it's a shame with both of them, because now it goes into, if they want to make the states, all right, now they got to beat one of the big boys, where before, okay, let's see how we do, but if we win our winnable games, we should make the states. Now they gotta beat one of the big boys,
Yep.
So let's see how they do.
Yep. McMahon, Danbury, we'll see. I still like McMahon's chances because of the talent and the schedule that they have. But good job here with going around the league. Why don't we take a break here? And when we come back, I don't often have kickers on, but we're going to be talking to the star of the weekend, Greenwich's Erick Perino. When we come back, the foot.
Eric the Foot.
The foot is coming on after this break. We're back, and as promised, we have a special guest, the person with the most famous foot in Connecticut high school football, and the person responsible for Greenwich still being unbeaten and #1 in the state, and that's their kicker, Erick Perino. Eric, thanks a lot for joining us.
Of course. Thank you so much for letting me in.
Okay, since today and yesterday, have you had to pay for a breakfast sandwich, a coffee, or a smoothie, or anything in Greenwich?
No, not yet.
Have you gotten any freebies anywhere?
After the game, actually, I got rewarded with 3 pounds of hot dogs and 3 pounds of hamburgers by Faith Focus and Finish.
Okay, barbecue at the Perinos. That's not bad. You shouldn't have to pay for anything this week. First of all, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
You've had a day and a half. What's it been like?
It's been pretty good. Like at first, like the first night, I couldn't even sleep because I was still pretty shocked about it, because I didn't know I just won the game for my team, and I was trying to think about it, and I was just it was surreal at the time. So, but today I woke up and I felt pretty different, and I felt I'm just ready to come back tomorrow, Monday, and just work and keep working from our team and make sure we get better.
You're gonna be a pretty famous guy at school tomorrow. It'll be the first time all your classmates see you at school. So why don't we why don't we just start with the big play, and then we can work backwards and find out a little bit more about you. First of all, first of all, and I was thinking about this, and this is not true, but it was 28-27 and you had missed an extra point. Are you sitting there as a kicker? Are you saying to yourself, if I had made that extra point, the game would be tied?
Yeah. As soon as I missed that point, I looked at the score and I was like, wow, like I could have just had that one more point and like helped my team. Even if it's a 1 point, like it would have still helped us a lot.
Yeah.
And, like I missed that, and I was like, wow, like I really like messed up at that time. But I just came back up, looked, kept my head high, and went right back at it.
Your team's driving down the field. You started on your own 26, and Rocco Grillo, the quarterback, a nice drive, and you get out of bounds at the 25-yard line with half a second left. Talk about cutting it close.
Yeah.
As they're driving, and you know what could be coming up, what's going through your mind?
What's going through my mind? I was like, oh yeah, we might have to go for a field goal. And then one of our coaches, Coach Jellica, he came to me and he was like, Eric, get ready, because this might be your only opportunity right now. And I was like, I went there, I got like 2 kicks in, and I felt confident, and I was like, I'm ready. I don't need to kick anymore and warm up. I'm just gonna go in there and be confident and see what I can do. And I did exactly that.
So you're all pumped up about it. You weren't nervous at all?
At first, I got nervous because they were trying to like ISO me. So I was like, they were trying to really stop the clock, and they were really trying to make sure I did not get that kick. But then after that, when I got my steps in and I got my positioning right to kick, I felt pretty confident because I knew that the ball was going to go right there.
What's generally, what do you consider? I mean, that was your first field goal attempt ever, and it's a 42-yarder, so it's not like it's a chip shot. At what length do you feel like I don't have a problem, and where do you start getting to where you're starting to extend your range?
As of now, I don't know what my range is, but during like practices, like throughout the week before like the game, me and another teammate, we stayed after practice. We kicked a couple kicks, and I hit like a 40-yard kick without my leg not even being 100%. So I felt like pretty confident. And then I think that if my leg is 100%, I could probably kick like maybe like 50, 60. I don't know. I just got to check.
What did you know as soon as you hit it, you'd made it?
As soon as I saw the height was like pretty good, I was like, yeah, that's going in. So I just celebrated it. I already knew it went in.
My photographer got a great photo. Your eyes are just, I love the look on your eyes are just like popped out of.
Yeah, I was in shock.
The photographer got a good shot, but you're looking in the celebration and you kind of get lost in the shuffle. Were you kind of like running all around the field like you had scored a goal and everybody was following you, or?
No, I just put my arms up. I looked at my team and I didn't even have to run because they all came at me, and I started like getting like thrown side to side, like, and then I even fell on the ground at one point, and then they got me back up. But it was pretty fun because I never experienced that.
And Sean, this is good area for you. First of all, Eric, is anybody like, as a kicker, are you being left alone? You see on the college and professional levels, they all talk about kickers being different than everybody else. And are you kind of being left alone, and do you want to be left alone, or are people coming up to you and saying, motivating you, pumping you up, keeping you confident?
Yeah. I like people coming up to me and keeping me confident because like my teammates do that, like, and they even one of my teammates, Johnny McHugh, at like the game, like he said, like, no matter what, if you make this or not, like we have your back. And like I felt pretty confident after that. Like as soon as he said that, I was like, yeah, like I just gotta kick it, and if I don't make it, like I know that my team has my back no matter what. So
Sean, what in a situation like that when you're driving and you may be calling on your kicker to make a winning kick, how would you deal with the kicker? Would any communication, leave him alone?
Yeah, we would let him know. Like, so if I was in that situation, like right after Maloney scored, I would have went right up to Eric and like, hey, Eric, just make sure you're ready because you're gonna have there's a good chance you have a shot to win the game for us. Make sure you're loose and all that stuff, and then you kind of just let them do their thing. You know, like Eric said, he only needed 2 kicks. So I wouldn't be like, hey, you only took 2. Go. No, let them do their thing. They know their leg better, you know. But yeah, I would have told them as soon as Maloney scored to go ahead, hey, make sure you're ready because you know you're going to win this game for us.
I'm guessing the kicker knows what's best, just in terms of don't mess with the, don't mess with the kicker. Leave him be, because he knows at that point what to do.
Right. So Eric, I could tell you that in a 1995, a very heated battle of the 4-2 Norwalk Bears were going against the 0-6 West Hill Vikings, and I trotted out to kick a 28-yard field goal, and we were winning 21-0. The game was already over. I was nervous just kicking that stupid thing, let alone a 42-yarder with no time to get, you know, to keep your team undefeated. But you know, the fact that you, by the way, I made it. We jumped off sides, but I made it. The fact that you were able to keep your composure even after the missed extra point, man, that's credit to you and your confidence. And, you know, that's just, I love to hear that. Great job.
Thank you.
What about, I mean, the other thing is this was your first field goal attempt. So you'd never attempted a field goal. So you had never gone through, the process of in a game situation, setting up for it. Did the fact that you had not kicked a field goal before, did that, you think, help or hurt you in terms of your prep before you made the kick?
I think I've been like practicing a lot with field goals, and like during my practices, like Coach Woodring and Coach Mediati, they like testing it out from like both hashes. So I felt pretty confident because I knew that I was always making them in practice. So like in the game, it shouldn't have been different. So I was just like, I'm just gonna go there and kick it like I normally do in practice, and just a little bit harder so it actually goes through.
You have an interesting background, because you hear a lot about kickers who have always been kickers, and kickers who are former soccer players. You're a former soccer player who grew up in Brazil. Just talk a little bit about your background before you got to Greenwich the second time.
Yeah, so in Brazil, I was just every day playing soccer. I had like a soccer team in like a nearby club. I would just practice there every day, and I just became really good at soccer. So when we came back to the US, I just wanted to like try it out. I like did it. I played it during middle school. I tried it out for a high school team. I didn't make it freshman year, but I made it sophomore year. And then after that, after my sophomore year, I felt like I was a little bit bored of soccer. So I was just like, I'm just gonna go to another sport, which is football. And I enjoyed watching football. I didn't know how to play it, but as soon as I learned more about it, I found it like even more interesting than soccer.
If Kurt Putnam tries to recruit you back, and the Greenwich soccer coach, just tell him,
Tell him no way.
I'm too big time for you now. You had your opportunity.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and actually Greenwich soccer gets as many people out as the football team. It's kind of crazy. So how does soccer help you in terms of being a kicker? Obviously, you probably have a strong leg just from kicking for distance. How do you adjust from kicking a soccer ball, trying to, whether you're playing defense or you're on the attack, to being a football kicker?
So for like the kickoff, like I adjust a little bit because obviously you need to take the steps and make sure that you're like lined up good. So when you do kick the ball, it goes the direction you want. And like the difference between that and like soccer is like soccer, the ball is just there and you have to like with your dominant foot is just kick it where you want it to. And like for football, I felt like I couldn't do that. So I just felt like I had to like line up correctly. But when I go to kick the ball, like I like start slow and then I boost up in the end and I like kick like it's a soccer ball because I know like it gets more height and distance. So I like drag my foot as well and like just bomb it. And then I guess it just goes.
John, did you deal much with converted soccer players to football kickers?
Yeah, Chris Lawton, and he just stepped down. He's a very good friend of mine, and I would talk to him every year, like, "Hey, do you got any kids who are not going to make the team that has strong legs?" So we've got a couple of kids from Chris Lawton, but I would talk to him every single year. So yeah, that's a common thing.
Now, what's it like? You hear all the stories on the professional level that I'm sure are not true on the high school level. You know, kickers are their own different thing, and they sort of just are you sort of like away from the team all the time at practices? I go to practices or preseason, and the kickers are just kicking by themselves, doing their own thing. Is that pretty much what it's like?
Yeah, it's pretty much like that. Like when practice starts, like during pre-practice, I would normally go to the corner side to do pre-practice, but now since I like kick a lot more, like me and the kickers, we have like our own like area. So like during pre-practice, it's just like us. And then like for others, drills is like, yeah, it's like basically just us by ourselves.
Do you feel like I always wondered, do kickers feel like they're a different part of the team, like your own little island to the team, or you're separate in practice and together the rest of the time?
Yeah, we're separate in practice, but together in the rest of the time. But yeah, I also do feel like I'm in my own island because I have like a different job from like the other people. And like not that many people like kick, and they're more of like tackling and catching the ball like a receiver. So I feel like sometimes like I do feel like I'm different from like the other players to an extent.
Other players don't get to make game-winning plays usually, either
Yeah.
game-winning kicks. Uh, Now you said you're a cornerback and want to hopefully earn some time in the defensive backfield too, huh?
Mm-hmm.
What what's how do you get your defensive work in when you're kicking so much?
So during the normal practices, we have like the kickoff practices, we have PAT, but it's like not like one after the other. So there's like breaks. So when like the offense is like going, there's like scout D. So I just hop in on like scout D and getting as many reps as I possibly can. And like I've been doing that like every day at practice, and I've been getting better and better. And I've obviously seen that I've been like changing my technique and everything, and it's just for the better. I'm just improving as a player itself.
Sean, this has been like, I don't remember there being so many good kickers all the time. I mean, I was at Darien that night, and everybody, Twitter's blowing up a guy for the first time making a 42-yard kick. Sean, we lost your photo for a sec, your picture for a sec here. Just wondering, what's the reason we're having so many good kickers now? Sean, are you there? Okay, we're gonna have to wait, Eric. Well, you and I will go. I don't know where Sean went, but what
Okay.
about there have been a lot of good kickers around. Do you have you worked at kicking a long period of time, and what do you attribute that to?
Sorry, could you say that again?
I said this has really been okay, here he's back. You're back, Sean.
Was that me? Was that my connection?
Yeah, you had a frozen yeah, well, we were fine here.
Okay. You guys don't need me.
Yeah. Well, actually, I do need you now because
Yeah.
we're going through like a golden age of kickers. I mean, you see Ty Groffin, who Canaan, just was the special teams player of the week at Rhode Island.
Yep.
And used to be a 40-yard field goal was a major big deal. And now we got kickers. St. Joseph has a good one. It seems like more teams than ever have good kickers. What's happening right now?
You asking me or Eric?
Yeah.
Oh, I just think that people realize just how important a part of the game it is now. And it's just that it's like back in the day used to be like, all right, go kick. If we make an extra point, we do. If we don't, we don't. But it's like a huge facet of the game. And the thing that people don't talk about is like, yeah, Eric can kick a 42-yard field goal, which is great. But the biggest advantage is when you get those kickers who can kick it into the end zone, where teams cannot return the ball. Now they got to drive 75 yards. A lot of high school teams are going to make a mistake. They're not going to be able to drive the ball it's just a huge advantage to have somebody who could just kick it into the end zone. But, and I just think the game of football has just gotten a lot more popular. It's like a lot more kids want to play now. That's just my own opinion. On a Friday night, you go to a Norwalk High game, we're 1-3, the stands are going to be packed. You go to a soccer game, they're fighting for a spot in the FCX and it's not even half filled, so I think that has a lot to do with it too. Like a lot more people want to play football now.
I can remember the days way back, even before you were playing. It would be like coaches, okay, who can kick here? You didn't even know who your kicker was. Okay, who can kick? And let's 5 guys would raise their hand, and you'd go and see who could kick from distance and who could be the most accurate. And if somebody could make half their kicks or 35, 40%, they were your kicker. And now, it's more popular. Eric, what do you think about that? Is from a player's perspective, is kicking become a lot more popular for high school athletes?
Yeah, I think kicking has become a lot more popular for high school athletes because last year we didn't have that many kickers. It was only Sergo, me as well, and Julian Ravina. But like this year, we got a little bit more. We have like another sophomore kicker and another junior kicker. So I feel like we filled up those spots more, and I feel like more people are just trying to like see what they can actually get with kicking.
Is that something you aspire to? Do you like to kick in college?
Oh yeah, I would hope so, if possible. I like kicking, so.
What about Greenwich being 3-0 and still #1 in the state?
Yeah, that made me like really happy. Yeah, that I was able to contribute to the team that much and make sure that we didn't go 2-1 at least.
Eric, how was that bus ride home?
Oh, it was it was crazy. It was like as soon as I walked in, everyone was like yelling my name.
Yeah, I tell you what, there's nothing like a bus ride home after a win, let alone after beating 1-3 and winning on the last second field goal. I'm sure that was a very fun bus ride home.
Yeah, it was. It was really fun.
What's it like? Were you looking at your phone the whole time, and your kick is all over Twitter and photos on Twitter and Instagram, video pictures, TikTok. You're everywhere. Was it kind of? It had to be a lot of fun for you.
Yeah, it was a little bit crazy. I saw like everything and I was like, wow, I did not know it was gonna go all over like Instagram and like Twitter. And then I saw that like some of my friends were like posting pictures of me that I didn't even see it before. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. I did not know that was gonna happen.
I love there's a lot of good video there, and my photographer caught the great. I thought a great photo, and the look in your eyes. Do you even remember like your eyes lighting up like they were after you made it?
No, I don't even remember. I just remember turning around and going, what? Like I did not know I made that. I was really like much shocked. Like I was impressed.
Well, Eric, this is really cool. We love having football players on the show here, and that was just a really really cool moment to do that in the not only to do that in any game, but #1 versus #3 in the state. You're gonna remember that the rest of your life. Congratulations. I'm really glad you got that moment, and thanks for joining us here.
Thank you so much for everything and having me on the show.
Stick around a second. We're gonna finish up here. Sean, any final notes? We're not a huge slate of games. We finally get a little bit of a break, but if I told you 3 weeks ago, everybody's going to be looking at Fairfield Ludlow to be the place to be playing against New Canaan, I don't think anybody would have had that.
Yeah, and you know what? Like we played up there on a Friday night when they've been very good. That place is going to be packed. I guarantee it.
They have a good fan base, though. They have a really good fan base, and nobody's been talking about them. And we'll have to see what Greenwich does too. You guys have Danbury now. You can't. Danbury's is a sneaky good team. You don't want to have the letdown there, right?
Yeah. We're gonna have to work really hard to make sure that we win again and have at least a good competition.
Do you guys are you guys really cognizant of like what other teams are doing or who the other good teams are? Or are you looking at scores of other games, or are you sort of just locked into what Greenwich is doing?
Oh yeah, like everyone on the team is like looking at other games as well and like seeing what's going on, seeing how the other teams are playing. And we also like look at like the videos of like the actual like games to see how the players itself play. So it could help us on and off the field.
Yeah, social media has become good for that. So, Well, Sean, it was as always another interesting week of Alliance games, and now we get into all FCX all the time. So we will do this again next week.
Sounds good. Can't wait.
And that's this week's episode of the Ruden Report podcast. Again, I want to thank our special guest, Eric Perino.
Thank you so much.
Want to thank Sean again. I want to thank Cooper Boardman for the sound editing. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you again next week.